In a remote countryside village, where the rice fields stretched endlessly toward the horizon, lived a quiet cat in a small, humble hut nestled at the foot of a hill. The house had only 4 bamboo walls and a thatched roof that leaked during the rains. But to him, it was a place to return to after each long day of hard work. No one in the village knew his name. They simply called him the Junk Cat. Every morning, before the sun even rose above the treetops, he would sling an old basket over his back and quietly head toward the trash dump at the edge of the village. That dump was far from pleasant, full of foul smells, buzzing flies, and rotting waste. But for him, it was a place where scraps could be turned into small coins. Just enough to buy a little rice, a pack of noodles, or a few slices of dried fish. He never complained. He was used to it. Life, to him, was just that simple. Having food to eat and a place to sleep was enough. That day, like any other, he was busily collecting discarded plastic bottles, empty cans, and torn cardboard boxes. His hands moved quickly, his eyes trained from years of scanning through piles of trash. Suddenly, he stopped. At the foot of a heap of plastic bags was a tiny, filthy, and frail creature, a kitten. It lay curled up, its thin body barely moving, fur matted with mud and dirt. Its big eyes stared at him, sad but dry, as if it no longer had the strength to cry. The old cat froze for a moment. He didn't know why, but something stirred deep in his chest. A pang of sorrow, like someone had pressed gently on an old memory. The memory of himself, long ago, wandering, cold, hungry, unwanted. He quietly stepped forward, bent down, and gently picked the kitten up. It was ice cold and trembling, but still tried to nuzzle against his paw. It let out a weak, fragile meow. "You poor thing. I guess you don't know where to go anymore," he whispered, eyes looking off into the distance. Without hesitation, he opened the lid of his basket and cleared a space inside for the kitten. The basket was meant for junk, but today it carried something far more precious, a tiny life. He began walking back down the familiar path. On both sides, the rice paddies were lush and green, swaying gently in the breeze. A few storks flew overhead, and the golden light of the late afternoon stretched long across the fields. The basket on his back was heavier now, not just with scrap, but with the faint, warming breath of the kitten inside. At the scrap buying shop, he emptied the bottles and cans onto the scale. The shop owner counted out a few worn bills and handed them over. Not much, but enough for a meal. He turned and walked toward a small general store nearby. Its wooden walls had faded with time. He bought a pouch of soft food, something gentle enough for a weak kitten. The shopkeeper glanced at him, then looked at the basket behind his back. "Where did you find that one?" she asked. "The dump," he replied simply. She shook her head, but said no more. He gave a quiet smile, then walked away. He stopped beneath a large tree near the fields, a spot where the shade was cool and the breeze was kind. Setting the basket down, he lifted the kitten out, opened the food pouch, and gently placed it in front of the little one. The kitten looked up at him, then slowly began to eat, timidly at first, then with growing hunger. The old cat sat beside him, pulling out his own meal, some cold rice and a piece of reheated dried fish. Simple food, but somehow it tasted different that day. Maybe it was the soft sound of chewing next to him, the quiet mews, or the grateful eyes of a kitten that said more than words ever could. The sun dipped low in the sky, and its last golden rays filtered through the leaves, casting warm light over the two of them, sitting side by side. Neither of them said anything, but the soft smiles on their faces said everything. In a world full of noise and struggle, there are still moments like this. Gentle, wordless moments where kindness needs no reason and connection needs no explanation. The old cat had nothing, only an old basket and a heart that still knew how to care. But that day, he gained something priceless, a friend. And the little kitten, once abandoned and forgotten, had finally found something it had never known before. A place to call home. Double asterisk.